Okay, so what we have left is we have orders sheet and then we have customers sheet. Okay, and so we want to merge these orders with this customer and also products. So it's like we have three tables, right? So remember about SQL query, SQL query, right? When we write SQL, you join uh, two tables at a time, right? So it's the same here. Where we will join first, let's say orders with the customers. Okay, so select blah blah blah, blah where orders dot what's this customer ID equals customer dot customer's ID. And then once we get a temporary temp or intermediate results, we will join that in the second step with the products table. So it will be each two tables each, right? Okay, so let's do first two tables, which is let's see whether we have let Power Query to know our data yet. So we have orders, but we don't have products and customers. So let's make this to be known by Power Query. So customer get data from other source from table range. Right, so we get customers inside Power Query, and just like what you need to do, right? You need to shape data type and whatever. Okay, and then close and load two. Okay, we don't do close and load. Close and load two, only create connection. Okay, and do it again with products. Get data from other sources from table range. Okay, close and load two, only create connection. Okay. So now we have three tables recognized by Power Query. Okay, then let's do the combine merge queries. So we can do this from here, combine queries, merge here, or you can start with orders here, and then you click dot dot dot, three dots here, and then you choose merge. Okay, so if you choose it from here, it will initialize your left table with orders, and your right table would be, let's do customer first. Okay, then select the relationship between these two tables, which is customer ID here and customer ID here. Okay. Now it depends on your question whether you want left outer join, right outer join, inner join, anti-join, full outer join, right? So in this case, for example, do we have sales transaction? Orders are sales transaction, right? And we have customer like a master table for customer. If the question is about, let's say, the sales transaction could be sales to customer that are non-registered customer and registered customer. So we could have both types of customer, right? Just like 7-Eleven, you can be all members or you may not be all members, right? So if you are non-customer, non-registered customer, you will not have customer ID, right? So in this case, you need to ask yourself whether you need the results to include non-registered customer, or you only want to include customer that are registered with you. If we want only customer that are registered with you, which type of join would you need? The question is, just type in chat, right? My question is, if you want the sales transaction to only have those registered customers in this case, which joy kind would I need? Which type? Left joy? Full joy? Inner joy? Which type? If that person is not a registered customer, they will not have a role in the customers table, right? But if they come to buy something at your store, they would have sales order transaction, right? So if you want to retain the transaction of those types of customer, right, you would choose left outer join. But if you only need sales transaction of those registered one, you would need inner join, right? So it depends on your business question again, which type of joy you want for each of that business question. So lead with question, then choose the joy that match that question. So in this case, we would say, let's say we want all the sales transactions, so we would choose left outer joy. Okay, so left outer joy, okay, and then click OK. Right? Okay, and then again, this has not been expanded yet, so we need to expand this customer. Okay, and then we would choose customer name and segment. We don't need the prefix, but we are quite sure that the column name will not be the same. Customer name segment, okay, and then untick the prefix here. And then okay. And now you need to, okay, again, check, right, based on entire data set, and then check whether there are missing value and errors, whatever. Okay, then we can, now we have the intermediate results of the joy of the first couple of tables. So we need to do another table, which is product. So we can just do this from Power Query. We don't need to go back to Excel anymore. We can choose over here, merge queries. See, there are two options here, merge queries and merge queries as new. So it's literally just like the menu name, right? Merge queries mean we do again on this results table. If it's merge queries as new, it means you want to like copy these merge results and then merge with another table, and then you get a new results. Okay, so in this case, we want to get in here, right? So just click the merge queries. And then this will be left table, and then we merge with products using the product ID, right? And again, left outer join. Okay. And so we expand here. We only need category, subcategory, and product name. And then click OK. Okay, so you can see that we have three categories. We have three segments. Okay, everything looks fine. No errors, no missing values whatsoever. Okay, so we're done. And then we just rename, right? Okay, orders, customers, products, and then close the load. Right now, we don't use close the load tool because we need a new result, right? With all the things. Oh, before doing that, let's do one thing because I'm a perfectionist. So I can see that my customer name and segment are not with my column customer ID, right? Customer ID is here. So I want it to be close together. So I can just use the mouse click and then move. move to here. Okay, once you move, you will have a new step called reordered columns. And if you look at the M code, you can see that it's just the name of the column headers, order as you want, right? So you can see that it's quite slow to just use the mouse to move the column header. So let's change the M code here will be a better and quicker way to do, right? So I can just copy, right? I can just cut here and then paste it here. I can cut category product and then move it to be adjacent to my product ID like this. Right? So you can just change your M code and then it's better, faster, more efficient to do than just use the drag and drop. Okay, and then enter and done. Right? And then we can just close the load. All right, that's it, right? Yeah, everything's here. Okay, looks good. Okay, so once you're done, type 1. Okay, and then you can just close, save, then close. You can see that for this lecture, we need 2 files. You need to submit 2 files, which is the first one we just did few seconds ago, right? This is the first one, what we left last time. And then the second one is what we are going to do right now. Okay, so for lecture 4, you need to submit 2 files. Okay. Then you download this Superstore, which is the Superstore that's already cleansed. Okay, it's the same. It's actually the same. You can just start with what we have cleaned, but this one, not only the cleaned one, but we also have some questions that we want to fill in. So please download this lab starting file. Okay. Now, I also open my okay, this is the one that we talk about. Okay. And then this is the main data that we have. Okay. And so let's go to slides first. Now we are at the third step in the data analytics framework or data analytics process. That means we want to now structure or visualize and analyze the data to find patterns and generate some insights. Okay. So we'll talk about the main topic today is descriptive analytics. But in order to answer question of descriptive analytics, we need some tools. And those tools are data aggregation, which can be aggregate functions in Excel, or you can aggregate or group by using Power Query. This is the one thing. Another thing is that we can use multidimensional analysis using pivot tables in spreadsheet tools like Excel. Right? So 2 things that we want to use as the way to answer descriptive analytics questions. Okay, so what are descriptive analytics? You only know that it is the analytics field that try to answer the questions of what happened. So what happened? It's something that happened before, right? So we have the data that happened before. And to be able to understand that data, we need to do some compress, right? Instead of looking through all the thousands, 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 of transactions, we need to compress that using some aggregation into a single metric, like total sales, like average discount, like min or max. So The purpose of doing aggregation could be we want to reduce the data, because if we have a lot of attributes, a lot of objects, a lot of rows, right? If we transform that using the aggregate function into just one or two numbers, it means we reduce the data, we reduce the complexity in the data. Also, another thing is that we could use the aggregation to change the scale of the data or granularity of the data. For example, we want to aggregate from cities, like sales by cities, to sales by regions, or to sales by countries. Or if we have the date hierarchy, we can have sales by date, sales by days, and then we can have weekly sales. We can also have monthly sale or quarterly sale. What we get is like a more stable data instead of high variability, right? Because with high granularity, with more detail of the data, it variable. It has high variability on the data. So if we compress that into small metrics, it will be more stable. It can also help us to identify outliers. For example, we have the average. And when we know that if this data point is very far from average, it could be outliers. Or detect the trends from that, or make some comparison between different groups or different categories. We can also further on for the next few weeks, the next week and the next few weeks, that we want to visualize using charts, using graphs or dashboards, so that we can use that to interpret easily and also use that to communicate the insights that you found to maybe your stakeholders or maybe to yourself. So we talk about granularity. Granularity means the level of the detail or the precision of the data. So if you say your data has a high level of granularity, what it means is that you have a number of pieces of information, such as individual logs, individual records or measurements. But if you say you have low level of granularity, that means you have small number of information, such as those data that are aggregated or summarized. So data granularity can affect how it will be used, how it will be analyzed, and then it will also affect the accuracy and usefulness of the results. Okay, so it actually what you want to analyze at high level or at a low level, it depends on your analysis. It depends on your questions. It depends on what you want to see, which type of patterns, how high of the granularity of the pattern. You want the pattern to be very big concept. That means you want low level of granularity, or you want it to be really detailed one. You need to have one higher level of granularity, for example. So to be able to choose which granularity, you can apply filters. You can group your data or use other techniques like pivot tables to control the level of granularity in your report or analysis. So you need to consider which level of the detail you want. But sometimes, since you maybe encounter data that come from multiple sources, it's possible that those sources come at different granularity. For example, in this case, on the left-hand side, we have sales at the date level. On the right-hand side, we have advertising budget at the month level, which is common sense, right? When we talk about, oh, how much budget we have this month, we don't talk about how much budget we have today, right? We only talk about like maybe monthly, quarterly, something that is lower level of granularity. So how can we merge this together? Possibly it depends on what you want. Again, if you want it to be higher level, maybe you need to aggregate the sales amount into month, which is not difficult at all. Or if you still need the date level or the week level, you may need to divide your advertising amount into days, or into weeks. Maybe if you know it's January, then you divide by 31, right? If you know it's February, you divide by 28, for example. You know how many days it is, okay? But somehow you find a problem that the granularity cannot be combined at all. For example, I heard this case example from Microsoft that says, okay, if you want to mine some materials or some, I don't know, minerals, right? It could be different units when you talk about how much you mine these minerals in week and in month. So since it's in different units, it cannot be combined at all. So what happens? You need to keep the raw data of both. And then what you want to do is, if you want to analyze, you need to use it separately. It depends on your question again, whether you want by week, you choose this scale, you use this unit. If you want by months, you choose another unit, another columns of what you already collected. Okay, so it depends on business context again. Everything depends on business context, business knowledge. Okay, so let's open your Excel. Okay, and then these are things that I need to go through quickly because I think you already know that in Excel you can use quite a lot of application function, right? Sum, average, min, max, count, whatever. For count, we know that it's like in Python, right? It's only count numerical values, okay? Median, mean, mode, standard deviation, whatever, you can use that. And you need to know, you know before when you do EDA, right? That if your data is skewed and you want to choose central tendency numbers, you may choose median over average. Okay. Count A means count non-blank cells, either not numerical or string or categorical. Count blank is the opposite, right? Count the number of blank cells. Count if, that means we have to count based on specific criteria. So we can tell the criteria, right? Whether we want to count only if it's a male, right? So we give it a range and then the condition. And if we have more than one condition, you can use count if as the plural of the count if. Okay, so in this case, you need to give it a couple of criteria and criteria range. Okay, so for example, you want male equals 40. Okay, so you have male, you check whether it's a male and then whether it's 40. So if you have more than one criteria, this is quite the thing that you should beware before you select the range, because it's the same as index match and XLOOKUP, right? Your one and my one, your first row and my first row should be the same. Otherwise, that count would not be correct, right? So in this case, this is the second row here. This is the second row here. So the same second row, right? So it has to be synced. Okay, so this is what you need to beware. Sum if, just like count, but the thing is that you can also have optional range that you want to sum. If you don't specify this sum range, it will sum the range here. Okay, and with the if conditional sum or conditional count, you can specify logical operators less than, equals, whatever, and also you can specify wildcard. Okay, and what you need to specify must be in quotation like this. So the logical operator will be inside the quotation, not outside. Otherwise, it will be errors. Sum if S, so more than one conditions. And if we have more than one condition, the logic to join them are and, only and. It cannot be or, right? So if you need or you need to do something else, for example, you may have to apply discrete mathematics that say, okay, if I want A union B, right? If it's overlap, that means it is number of A plus number of B plus A intersect B. Oh, no, minus A intersect B, right? So you need to apply those theory that you have known before in order to do OR correctly. Okay. So sum if S, average if S, mean if S, but we don't have median if S. So I think it could be, it's too complicated to do the median if, because with the median you need to sort, right? And once you sort, you need to sort by the condition. So it's very complicated. Okay. Now, another function that you may not found before, right, is aggregate function that comes after Excel 2016. So this aggregate function will apply different types of function according to the list, and you can choose to ignore some hidden rows or other values, right? It will be useful when we demo the workshop for you. Now, let's go to Excel's table. Actually, the Excel table itself comes with automatic aggregation. And you can choose to open this option, total row, in the Excel table design. That will provide you a drop-down list for each table column. And this drop-down list of aggregate functions will be applied if your filters are applied too. Okay, so let's go to this Excel table and then go to the bottom. You can see that these are already open for you, are already enabled, right? This is called the total row. You can see, you can do, this is the count, right? You can choose average, but it's not actually clever because you need to consider yourself whether this column or this attribute are appropriate to do that particular aggregate functions or not, okay? Or you can go to like this, right? I have sum, you can choose average, you can choose whatever you want. So in order to disable this, you need to go to table design again, and then untick total row. So one thing I would want you to see is that this total row will be applied, will apply filters automatically. For example, I have this count, let's say I have count, right? And if I filter to select just like Aaron, it will be count only 6, right? Because the filters only show 6 rows. So this total row apply filters automatically, right? But you see later on that if you use common aggregate functions with your data, it will not be. Okay, so let's disable this total row out first. Why? Let's clear this. And then disable total row. Because why we do this? Because we later on we want to dump our orders data to Power Query, and Power Query doesn't know that total row are different row, should not be counted as data row. So if we still have total row, it will be counted as data row, and then there will be some errors. So let's disable this total row. I disable this. And then let's go to aggregate functions. So what we want is to answer these questions, right? So I have these questions which follow along with our business question earlier in lecture 1. Okay, so mainly it will be descriptive analytics about sales, about profits, about furniture, and also about discount on furniture, right? So let's do together. First, number of order lines, right? Number of order lines is just to count the order lines. But the first one, I want you to count by using sales. Okay, so count. Okay. I will use structure reference, so I can reference the table name called orders and then sales. Okay. Okay. Now, if I want to count using order ID column, what I need to change? It should be the same, almost the same, but I don't use count. I use count A because order ID is not numerical value. If I use count, it will be 0, right? So count A, orders, order ID. Okay. Any missing sales number? Count blank. Count blank. Sales. Sorry, orders. Sales. Okay. Okay, next. Total sale. Oh, this is quite easy. Sum, orders, sales, right? Okay, next we have conditional sum, right? Total sales for furniture. So only count totals. Okay, then for sales of furniture only. So that means we want to sum the sales only for the furniture. So this will not be sum, right? This is not furniture. This is furniture. So we'll sum this, right? So it's like they do a loop for us, right? So sum if and then range that you want to apply the criteria, which is orders category. Category needs to be furniture. And these criteria are case insensitive, just like in VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP. Okay. And some sales, right? Sales, orders, sales. Okay. I actually have the solution in my slide. If you cannot follow, you can just copy from slide. Okay. Okay, the next one, not furniture. So the one place that we need to change is this condition. Instead of furniture, we don't want furniture. Okay, so I just copy. Oops. What did I do? Oops. Then not furniture, which means we need to apply the not. Not is less than equal. So not furniture. Right? Now let's see the results first to interpret the results. let's change the format here to be this, okay? So we can like this one should be count, so no decimal, right? You can choose number of decimal, increase or decrease. So we have total sale of 2 million something, right? 2,300,000 something. And total sale for furniture, which are 1/3, almost 1/3, like 754,000. So almost 1/3 of 2 million. Furniture is 1/3 of the proportion because we have 3 categories: furniture, office supplies, and cutlery. So the sales is 1/3. So it's okay. It looks okay, right? And not furniture is actually we can use this and minus this, but we do not use that. We use the count, the sum if. Then how about this total sales for furniture for the last this year? It means that we need more criteria, right? So it's not just sum if, we need sum if s. And then we want to sum the order sales. So we can have more than 200. It's actually 255 criteria available to be inside the if s, but usually we not go beyond 3 or 4, right? So what do we need on the criteria here? First, of course, the first couple of criteria is to check whether it's furniture. So let's check that orders, right? Orders category needs to be the same, right? Furniture, but it has to be latest year. How do you check whether it's latest year? It's because we know that latest year is 2025, and you know that to be in 1 year, it has to be January 1st until December 31st, right? You can use this condition as your conditions here. So it needs to add 2 more conditions, which means start from 1st January to end at 31st December, right? Or it can be start from 1st January, but before 1st January of next year or this year, 2026. It could be both, they are fine, right? So let's say orders date, right? Order date. Okay, order date needs to be greater than or equal 1/1/2025, right? Needs to be inside the double quote. And order date needs to be less than equal 2005, like this, right? This will only work according to your locale in your computer, in your Windows locale. If your locale is boot this year, you need to change this to 2568 to 568. Okay, it depends on your locale in your computer. Okay, so mine is 2025. It will also not work if your order date column is not date, right? If it's something else, for example, it's just a text, this will not work at all because it doesn't know, right, whether what's greater than 1st of January, right? But it works right now because it's already data type is already changed to date. All right, okay. Oh, for the latest year of furniture, we have 200,000. So we have 4 years, right, in your data set. That means 200,000 is more than 1/4, right? 754. And we have the last year 200, more than 1/4. It looks good, right? We have probably increasing sale. Okay, now 3 more. Okay, let you do this on your own first before we have a solution. Okay, let's say right now 2:17, right? 3 minutes ละกันเนาะ2:20 2:20 ถามข้อนี้เนาะ Okay, who's done with these 3 questions? Just type 1. Okay, พิยาธิดา first. Do you need more time? Okay, let's say 2 more minutes then. 2:22. Okay, let's do this. Average discount. Wow, this is quite easy, right? Average orders, then discount. Okay. So let's change this to percent. And then you increase the decimal number. Okay, so we get 15% average discount overall. Let's see what's about discount of furniture. Then we need average if orders category needs to be furniture, right? And you average the discount. Okay, know that. Oh, 15% overall, but for furniture, a little bit more than 15%, 17%, right? It looks okay. How about, I heard that furniture sales are not profitable. What are those that are not profitable? So we need more criteria. That means we need average if S. Average if S, we need to put the average range first because we don't know how many criteria we have, right? Usually it will be the order will be changed. So we need to average orders, discount, and then first criteria is orders, category, furniture, and the second criteria is profit, right? Whether it's profitable, that means the profit needs to be more than 0. That means it's profitable. So unprofitable means the profit is less than or equals to 0, right? 0 means not profitable. Okay. 0 คือเท่าทุน So how many? Wow, 36%. Right? So that's a lot. That means there's something not good in giving discount to those furniture sales that are non-profitable. It could be the results of the discount that it makes it unprofitable, right? This is what we talk about in lecture 1 when we do hypothesize things. Okay, so it shows something here. Which subcategory of furniture has the highest average discount? Okay, so we need to have comparison between different subcategories. How about let's change the filter here. Let's say we want furniture to be tables. Let's change the subcategory to be tables. Let's see the results. Nothing's changed. So this is the behavior of these aggregate functions in Excel. It will not change according to filter, unlike the total rows. And therefore, we need another function, which is aggregate function. So let's clear this first. Since they are on different sheets, so I have one more tool that will make our life better, which is to have the filter over this Excel table, but that filter can move to another sheet, which is aggregate function sheet. That filter is called slicer. So what is slicer? Slicer is a graphical filter object. Right? It's a GUI filter that enable you to filter your data using the buttons, which makes it easier to quickly filter your Excel table or pivot data later on. So we'll go to table design here, and then we will choose insert slicer. Table design here. And then we have insert slicer here. Okay, and we want to insert slicer over category and subcategory, for example, and then click OK. Right? You can see if we click furniture, it looks like we do filter over furniture here. So it will sync. Otherwise, it will be a mess, right? It needs to be synced. If I filter furniture bookcases, so it looks like I filter these two columns, right? I can clear the filter over here, right? I can cut, let's cut these two slices, Control X, and then move to aggregate function here so that I can play with the filter and see the results over my aggregate functions. Right? So nothing changed, right? For these results. Now, if I use aggregate, okay, I need to choose which aggregate function I want. Right now I want the average discount, so I choose 1. And the next one is you want to ignore some rows. For example, if you have total rows in your Excel table, you want to ignore that, or you already filter. Do you want to ignore hidden rows that are filtered out? Of course, yes. I also want to ignore error values and also some aggregate function if there are. So I will choose 3. Okay, so there are a lot of options here. And the one that I need to compute is orders discount, right? I want to average the discount. Okay, so percent. Now, let's see the magic. If we click furniture, right, it's the same here, right? If I click office supply, oh, less than furniture. Technology is even less than furniture, so furniture has the highest average discount according to the category. But if I go to a specific detail more than just furniture, I want to check the subcategory in the furniture. Let's check bookcase. Oh, bookcase is 21. Chairs is 16, 17, right? Furniture, furnishings is 14. Tables is 25. Wow. So that means overall subcategory tables has the highest average discount, followed with bookcase, chairs, and furnishings, right? And that's what can do very easily using slicer with the aggregate function over here. Okay, so once you are done with this, type 2. Now let's save as, okay, in case I have a problem with my computer. So let's see, Superstore lecture 4. All right, next. Now we want to now use Power Query to apply the group by, just like group by in SQL query. I select from where group by, right? So this is generated by AI. So we want to have the raw transaction and then group by. In this case, we want to group by, for example, country and region, and then the output will be the aggregate result for that each country and region in each row, and the sum of the total sales for that country and that region, right? So the group by collapse or compress several rows into just single value based on the share attribute, in this case, country and region, okay? So we can have higher level of granularity to be compared. Now, raw data is often transactional, right? But what you want from descriptive analytics need to be analytical that are more coarser. One row maybe not one row per cell, but one row per region or per product using group by. So in Power Query, you can do group according to column grouping. You can have several columns for each value, or you can do row grouping. That means you have several rows for each group. Okay, so they have this button group by here, or you can right click your columns and then choose group by. Okay, it depends on business questions again, whether you want what you want to know. So in this case, I have 3 questions for you. The first one, I want to know what are the total and top sales for each country and region. Okay, so now let's go to Power Query. Let's go to data and you open queries and connections here. Okay, I already have orders. I already have managers. Okay, so just double click that to go back to Power Query. Now I don't use duplicate. I will use another one called reference. I want to reference orders query. Right click the order and then I choose reference. What's the difference between reference and 2 lectures before when we use duplicate? The difference is if you duplicate, you also duplicate the apply step. So you duplicate everything, right? But for reference, it starts from the results of the things that you refer. So it means when you click reference, it ends here. That means orders 2 will start with that. Okay, so let's change this to orders total sales. Let's say total sales. And then what I want is that I want to group by country and region. Okay, so I choose group by. Group by is here. Group by. And then you can do basic group by only 1 criteria, or you can group by more than 1, choosing advanced. So I want to group by 2 things, which is country, region, and then I can add grouping here to group by region. So 2 columns, right? Country, region, and region. And what do I need for this column name? This is like the group by SQL query, right? You select country, region, and sum sales, right? So you need to sum sale as, okay, let's say total sales, as total sales. So this total sales mean you want to apply operation sum over the sales. Okay, so it means I write SQL query to be select country, region, and sum sales as total sales from, right, from orders. It's group by country, region, and then region. This is group by clause, right? So it's just, this is the same. Right? And then click OK. Done, right? I can get United States Central, how many total sales? United States East, how many total sales? Very, very easy. So this is what I get. So if I'm done with this, just close the load. Okay. Close the load. Okay, I got my total sales report for each country and region. So if you are with me here, type 3. Okay, so what's next? My second questions are a lot more difficult. Why? What I need is that I want to summarize not just for each country and region total sales, but I want to know which category has the top sales. Okay, which category has the top sales? So in each country and region, we have a lot of sales for that, right? And for these, a lot of sales, there should be the sales that is the max one. And what are the category for that max one? So this is what I want to know, right? So let's go back to Power Query and just duplicate the total sales query and then change to top sales. Okay, duplicate. Okay, and then I change the name to top sales. Right? But I don't want this total sale. I want something else. I want some more thing. Okay. What I need to know is I need to get to grouping again. So in this case, I have group rows, only total sales, right? I can go back to configure these group rows. Okay, go back to configure these group rows. And then I want to add more aggregation to this. I want to add more aggregation. So I click add aggregation. And instead of getting some aggregation function, I want to get all the rows first. I want to get all the rows. Okay, so I want to get this all rows. Why I don't use max? Because I won't get only max sales, but I don't know which category is that max sale. I need to get category 2. So first I need all rows. And let's say I call this category. So you can see if I choose all rows, there will not be column to choose because it come all together. Okay, and then just choose OK. Okay, this is a name. It can be any name, A, B, C, D, whatever. Okay, and what I need is all rows. Okay, and then click OK. Now, this comes as a compressed table. You can click and see, right? That means you can see that this is the table that are the results of United States and Central. You can see these are all United States. These are all Central region. So compressed in this table object over here. The same, this is United States East. This is Canada West, for example. So we have the whole filter table over here. What we want is that from this filter table, I want to get to sales and see which one is max. Let's say this max should be this 272, right? And once I know which row is max, I want to get the category of that row, which in this case is office supplies. Okay, how do we do that? We need to use things that we haven't used before, which is custom column. So we need to use import a little bit here. We go to add column here, and then custom column. Custom column. And let's name our column as top category performer. Top category performer. And then I want max sale. So I use table.max. This one, table.max. Well, this table.max. What I need is I need table. What's the table? Here, the results that we have, right? Category is the table. So double click. So in this table, which column do we max based on? We based on sales. So this will be string, the name of the column header. right? So you can see here, table.max category sales. And this will return that record that has the max, okay? It will return as type record, okay? Just click OK. So you can see it will be record, just one record. Here, here, here. Now, it waits for us to choose which column in the record that we want. So let's expand here. Just like when we expand columns, when we do the merge, right? Expand here, and then we choose only category, right? We choose only category. Oh, we choose also sales, category and sales. Okay, category, okay, and sales. And since we do not want the name of the columns to be duplicate, we will enable the prefix here. Okay, so click OK. And then we get top category performer, category name, and top category performer sales. Right? Do we get that? Yeah. And then if you do not want this compressed table anymore, we can just remove it. Okay, right click, then remove. This one still works. It is not the same as applying some functions. In that case, it will not work like this because your data is gone. Your data is already removed. But here in Power Query, you do this as a pipeline. So when you do expand the top category performer, your data is still there. You remove it later on, right? So this is one of the advantage of Power Query. Now, if you are done, you can just close the load. Go close the load. Okay. If you are here with me, type 4. Okay, now third question. I now want to get the regional manager's report. So for each regional manager, I want to get a report of that regional manager, says total sales, total quantity, total profit, average discount, and also the number of the orders. Okay. So let's go to Power Query editor. Go back to Power Query. And now I want to merge queries. I will choose merge query as new here because I don't want to merge queries with what I have here. I want to merge queries as new. Okay, and then I choose manager as my starting point, left table. And then right table would be orders. And this related using region. Okay. And it should be left outer join because I want each manager to be the main thing that I want to report. Okay, choose manager as left table, orders as right table, region as join condition, and left outer join. Click OK. Now I want to expand this orders. Right, it's a table again. I want to aggregate all the rows in these numerical columns. And also I want to count the number of order according to order ID. But I don't want to just count. I want to count distinct. Okay, so this is the thing that it's difficult for this question because they don't have the particular count distinct. You need to use two functions, which is distinct and count together. Okay, again with M code. Okay, so expand this, but instead of expand, you need to choose aggregate. Anyone use MacBook, you do not have this option here. Okay, so you need to still choose the expand and then you go back to maybe another use group by to aggregate. But if you use Windows, you have this option, aggregate. So what you want to aggregate? You want to aggregate count of order ID. You can change the functions, but you don't have count distinct. Okay, so just choose count first, and then we'll change this. Count order ID, and then some sales, some quantity, not some discount. I want average discount, so I can change here with this drop down to average. Okay, I don't want some. I want some profit. Okay, I choose count order ID, some sales, some quantity. I want average discount and then some profit. Do you want prefix? Maybe not. Okay. Then click OK. Right, this is what we have. It almost correct except this thing, right? So first, let's change the name of the column. You go back to here, you can change right at M code. So in case of some profit, you change to total profit, average discount, no off, total quantity, total sales, and number of orders, count, number, let's say number of orders. Okay. Now let's fix this number of orders. This is actually not a real number of orders because it's the number of rows instead of number of orders, because you already know that one order may have many rows, right? Because each row is order line and one order could have a lot of order lines. So how do we do that? We will use this distinct count, which is to apply the distinct function here. So you can see that each of these are list sum, list dot average, right? The result are list. And then we will use this thing here to find a distinct list first. And then this underscore mean this is the same as this keyword in Java. You know Java, right? This keyword, this dot whatever, right? That means it refer to the list itself. Okay, so list dot distinct means get the distinct list first and then count later on. That means you get distinct count. So this each means you want to do a loop, right? You want to do a loop over here. Okay, so let's do this. This become each And then inside list.count, I will have list.distinct, and then underscore. Okay, let's see what I have. Okay, so it looks good. Now we have only 1,600 something, right? This should be the correct one, right? If you cannot follow me, just use my chat. Okay, and then before we finalize, just change the name of the query. Let's say region report. Region report. Okay, and then close the loop. So once we're done, type 5. Okay. So one thing you should notice is that we don't format any numbers in Power Query. It's as is because Power Query is not worked as a format or display program. It's used to prepare data. So you will prepare data. What it is, it's as is. คือมายังไงก็อย่างนั้นเราไม่สนใจฟอร์แมตใดๆใน Power Query เราค่อยมาสนใจตอนเราทำเป็น Visualize หรือว่าทำเป็น Pivot Table หรือมาจัดการอะไรความสวยงามทีหลังใน Excel เนาะเราไม่จัดการความสวยงามใน Power Query นะคะนี่ก็เป็นหลักการเนาะก็คือแยกนะ raw data จัดการกับความสวยงามทีหลังนะคะโอเคก็น่าจะประมาณนี้ okay so now it's 2:55 let's have a break 10-minute break okay 2:05 oh 3:05 3:05 okay and then we'll go to pivot tables. Okay, let's continue. So when we talk about multi-dimensional analysis, it means we want to do something like this. That means we want to convert the flat list table, just what we did before with Power Query, into a transformation like this, where we call it pivot table, or you can also call it cross tabulation. So the concept of pivot table, cross tabulation means we transform the flat list transaction into some multidimensional matrix. The goal is that we can apply slice and dice data to review some relationships between several variables together at once. So the value shift from records or rows to intersections or matrices that help us to identify some patterns easily or making some decision on the insights that we discover from the cross-tabulation, okay? So when we talk about dimensional analysis, that means you need to dig out your keywords from data warehouse. This also applies, it's over here because it's actually the same concept. You have dimension, which is your context, or it's an angle that you classify your business data according to who, where, when. For example, by region, by category, by quarter, by date, right? And you have hierarchies of dimensions, which is the level of detail that you want or the granularity that you want to analyze on. That means once you have the hierarchy, you can enable the drill down or the roll up operation very easily. Drill down means from the general or less detailed one to from the more detailed one to the less detailed one, which is more specific, right? Okay? No, drill down means from the less, sorry, drill down means we go from the less detailed one to the more detailed one, okay? From general to specific, right? Rolling up is the opposite, right? You go from specific to general. That means you go from the more detailed one to the less detailed one. Okay, for example, you go from year to quarter, means you go less, more detailed. That means you drill down, right? Okay. Then once we have dimensions, we can populate the dimensions. We call it members or dimension members, which are the labels or the unique items found in that dimension. For example, the dimension is a month. That means the dimension members contain January, February, and so on, right? And then at the intersection of the dimensions, we get the values or the numbers, which we call it the indicator or the measure. So usually the indicator or the measure are quantitative values that describe the business performance. So we talk about KPI, we talk about metrics before. Those are the numbers that will be at the measures here. So usually the measures will be aggregate by aggregate function like sum, count, average, and so on, right? Example are sales revenue, total cost, profit, or quantity, for example. Okay, so pivot tables are multidimensional tables. And if you see pivot tables separately with the space in between, that is the general keyword. If you see pivot tables together like this, it means the name of the tool in Excel, okay? So pivot table is a tool to calculate, summarize, analyze, and so on. And it's dynamic. So you can change and add data to your original data set, and then you just click refresh, and your pivot table will change based on that information. That means data analysts or us can use pivot tables to draw some useful conclusion and create some insight from the information and use those insights to present to interested stakeholders. So tips and tricks, you need to come with clean tabular data for best results because you need column headers. You need to organize your attributes as columns and transactions as rows. And make sure all columns have their single row, just like what we talked about last time, well-structured data, right? Format your data as Excel table. And if you have complicated data, please use Power Query to transform it first before it could be used by pivot tables. Okay, so pivot table components contains 4 main components, which are columns, rows. You can drag your fields to column and row to create the members of that dimensions according to rows or columns. And your quantitative values to values. So once you drag and drop at values component, it will be aggregate. Default aggregation is sum. Okay. And if you want to filter, you can also choose 2 filters here. Okay, so pivot table is a table, so it looks like a table. If you don't drag, you just check the box at the front. It will be selected based on default behavior. That means if you check non-numeric fields, it will be added as rows. If you check numeric field, it will be added as values. You can have Excel to suggest you some recommended pivot tables, but I don't suggest to use that because it's not quite clever. Okay. So now we use pivot tables for analysis. You want to best practice, create 1 sheet per 1 pivot table. Do not mess up a lot of tables together in 1 sheet. So you separate your analysis from your raw data. And good practice again, name our pivot table for further reference, especially if you want to create a dashboard later on. Okay, so let's answer our business questions using pivot table. Go to orders. Okay, and close this. And then you go to insert and you choose pivot table here. Okay, and it will ask you which where is your data? Where is your table range? And if it's format as Excel table, this is very easy. We choose it for you. You just check whether it's correct and choose whether you want to replace as my suggestion, new worksheet. Okay, right? This is called pivot table placeholder. And you can see that this placeholder comes with this pivot table fields and components here. If it doesn't it doesn't show, don't worry. Maybe it's hidden. Okay, you can just choose the placeholder and then you click the field list here. Okay, it will be shown. Okay. Now, let's see what's our question. First question, I need to know annual trend sales and profit. Okay, that means I need the date, which is order date, as my row. And I need sales, sum, sales, and the sum of the profits. Okay, so order date, move to rows. Sales and profit, move to values. Oh, one thing that you need to take note is that there are 3 more fields that I never have before in my raw table data, but it actually come here, called years, quarters, and months. What are these? It's actually date time hierarchies that are automatically created and grouped from the order date. Of course, if you check ship date, it will create something like this for you too. So that means it chooses for you. It chooses to drag years, quarters, month, and order date over here for you automatically. Okay, you can change to not display years, quarters, months by going to right click on the row here and then choose group. Here you can see that the default is that it choose month, quarter, and years. If you don't want here, you can just click to disable. It depends on you, but my suggestion is just leave it here. It will be used later on when you have more business questions. So right now, can we answer the question yet? We have sum of sale. Let's change the name, okay, to be total sales and total profit. Okay, this should be here, right? And best practice, name the sheet. Let's say annual sales profit. Okay, and then click the pivot table here and then go to pivot table analyze. You can also change the name here, and I suggest that you should change annual sales profit. Okay. Now, what are the annual trend of sales and profit? Oh, it's very difficult to read these numbers because it's not formatted yet. Now it's your turn to format these numbers. How do you format? You right click and then you choose number format. Right click and number format. And then choose number. Use 1000 separators and then okay. The same as profit. So these number formats goes with the field. Okay, it doesn't go with the cell. If you do something like this, you highlight and then you choose this place, it will be according to the cell. So if your cell move, it will not move with you. Therefore, it's not quite stable to choose this one. It's better to choose by field here using number format. Use 1000 separators. Okay, now, how about this? If you are done with this, just type 5. Okay, let me do again, okay? Let's go back. Ah. Insert pivot table. Then click OK here. And then I move order date to rows. I move sales to values. I move profit to values. I get this. I change the name of the label. This will be total sale, total profit, and this should be here. And I change the name of the sheet, annual sales profit. I also change the name of the pivot table, annual sales profit. Okay. And then I right click, number format, number, use 1000 separators, and also with the profit here, number, use 1000 separators, and then OK. Right? Type 5 if you are with me here.ไปถึงไหนกันแล้วเนี่ยไม่มีตอบสนองกูเลยสักคนนะทีนี้ can you answer the question now? What is the trend of the sales? It looks like it keeps better for sales, right? But except the second year, for profit, it looks better also. Anything that would help us to interpret this more easily? Of course, this already talked about the grouping. Conditional formatting. So we would like to add visual cues to your spreadsheet using colors, using icons, using bars, for example, and it will make it easier to glance over your table to understand and then may come up with some insight, clearer insights for yourself and for your stakeholders. So we want to do something like this, which means we want to add color scales. If it's the number is small, it will be white. If its number is larger, it will be green. If it's even larger, it will be really dark green. This. So you choose the color according to the business context. In this case, it's sales. It's always positive, right? It should be green. You should not say larger number of sale is red, right? So let's say you can highlight what you want to format, and then you go to home, conditional formatting, color scale. You choose this one, green, white, right? So small will be white, large will be green, same as profit. We highlight it separately. Why? Because if we highlight together, profit will be less than sales. Profit is like 10,000, right? Sales are like 100,000, so it's different scale. So you should choose to be different conditions here, and then color scales. Okay, so you can see we have a growing trend of profit just from the start, but we also have growing trend of sales except the second year, right? Since you can see that we have date hierarchy here, that means you can go to order, we can go to month, we can even go to date, right? But if you only want to answer the question annual trend, you do not want that, you can remove your other date hierarchy. For example, you don't want quarter, you can just remove quarter, or you can untick quarter here. You can remove month. You can also remove order date here. So you can just look at year data only. It depends on your question whether you want to change the perspective or change to drill down or roll up later on. But the conditional format will not go with you, okay? So you may need to do something else. Right? Now the second question, or the first question we haven't left yet. We can add more perspective by showing the growth of the sales and the profit. Instead of raw numbers, we can add percent of the growing, right? So we get the sales growth and profit growth. In this case, we will use the feature called show values as in pivot table. These show value as just do the calculations on top of the sum sales and sum profit that we already got from the pivot table. So there are very different calculations that we can do. You can choose which one you want. For example, you can do some percent of total. You can do percent of row total, or you can do running total. In this case, we want to do growth. So we want to choose percent difference form, because in this case, what we want to calculate is that how many percent from 472 to from 494 here. That means we want to do 400 minus here by with the base 494, right? And then you get the negative growth here, this. Okay, and then you do this for the next couple of years, right? So we want to also add conditional format to be icons like this. Let's see how do we do this. So let's say I want to add, right? I want to insert more sales. So I put sales again. I can do sales twice. I drag sales and then drag another profit, right? To sales growth, but this will be sales growth. This will be profit growth. Okay. And then I don't want to format now. I want to change to percent growth first. So what I do is that I right click, and then I choose show values as, right click, show values as, and then choose percent difference from, then here, base field is year, of course, this year, right? But base item is to calculate from previous year, so I choose previous year, right? And click OK. Again, do this for profit. Percent difference from, and then from previous year, okay? Now I want to add an icon called icon sets. I can do this, and then conditional format. Icon set here. Let's choose the first one. This one, let's say it's different, so choose the second one. Okay. It looks okay, but it's actually not. You can see this one looks okay. Okay, minus should be red, right? But this 20% positive, 20% is red. This is not right. Right? So something is not right or not correct here. So we need to go back to the conditional formatting rules and then change and correct this. Right? You go to conditional formatting, you choose manage rules. Okay, we got 4 rules here. 1, 2, 4, 5. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. First, let's change this one, which is the sales growth. Double click. And you can see that this is not quite right. Green arrow to be greater than 67. What is 67%? What's percent calculated from? Let's change it to number because it's decimal, right? Percent is decimal. Change it to number. And if it's more than, not more than equal, just more than, right? If it's more than 0, then green. The second one will be automatically choose it for you because this is greater than 0. This will be less than or equal to 0. So less than equal to 0, larger than equals to 0, that means 0. If it's 0, it will be yellow. Or you can adjust this. Maybe you can put the threshold to be greater than 5%, 0.05 to be green, and between 5% and minus 5% would be yellow. Something like this is okay too, right? But we want to be strict like this. And the red one will be less than 0. Okay, and then click OK. And then click apply. Okay, it doesn't change because it's already correct. Now change here, the same. This is greater than 0. 0 should be number, right? And then this is 0, and then number. So less than, okay. And then apply. Now it's correct now, right? Everything is positive. 10% more positive, so it should be green and up arrow, right? Okay, so we are done here. Anyone with me? Just type 5. We are still at 5. Here, what happened to you guys? Should I continue? It seems no one's here with me. Okay, I continue, okay? So the questions, second question, we want to add category to our business question. So we need to do category as columns. Okay, let's say we just copy this first one, copy, make a copy. Okay, and then let's say the name to be, oh, sorry. I forgot to create a copy here. Okay, and then let's rename the annual sales profit to be by cat. Okay, by cat. Name over here. By cat. Okay. And then I want to add category to columns. I drag category to columns above values here. So what's the difference between category above values and category below values? It depends on the view, the display. If I have category up below, that means I group the measure together, the same measure to be together like this. If I put category above, that means I group all the measures of that category to be together. Nothing is better than another one. No one, not anything is better, because it depends again on your question, what you want to see. If you want to compare between different measures in each category, you choose something like this. If instead you want to compare between categories in each matrix, you choose another one. Okay, so let me choose here. And what I have is here, right? And I can interpret the results from here, or I can choose AI to help me. I can let's change the name first. Here should be category. Okay, so AI will know what I'm talking about, and I can copy my results in the pivot table, and maybe just this, and then I paste it in my Gemini Pro, and I make it interpret results. Okay, I have already done that, so I will just for shows you the result here. So I let it think, and I choose the Pro one, interpret the results here, right? I just copy and paste, and it helped me. Just that says I want to do descriptive analytics, and it summarized everything for me. The detail of each furniture, what happens in furniture, what are the problems, what are the inside furniture driving revenue but drag down the bottom line. Technology is the profit engine, and office supply is the turnaround story. So in conclusion, why I want to know what further, why is furniture category so unprofitable despite rising demand? That means the sales are better, but the profit is not. Okay, it even suggests me to do what prescriptive analytics later on. Okay, so I can conclude it here somewhere, which is very close to what AI has told. Okay. So now the third question, what I want to do is that I want to get quarter and year profit for each category, and then I want to segment it using customer segment. Okay, so let's first get this. I want you to try yourself first before I give the solution for you. You can also look at what I have here. Actually, this is already a solution. Okay, let's say 5 minutes. Okay, so 338, 343. Okay, give me this pivot table first. Okay, and then we will continue together. Okay, let's look at the solution. Let's do new. Okay, insert pivot table. Okay, and then what I have? Category as columns, and year folder. I can choose here. Year folders as rows, and then profit as values. We want to take a look at just the profit, not sales. Okay, and then I can change the format, number format, right click. Okay. And then I change the I conditional formatting. Now I won't choose the color scales nor icon set. I choose the data bars, and let's say it's green one. It will automatically be red if it's negative. So that's fine. This is what we want, right? And let's change column labels here to be category, profit to be total profit, and then this will be order. Okay, let's name the sheet here to be let's say segmented profit, but we haven't segmented yet. Segmented profit. Okay, let's change the beautiful name here. Segmented profit. Okay. And we save. Okay. Now, I want to do segmentation according to customer segment. What options do I have? I have several options to filter according to segment. I can use filter components, which means this place, filters component. That means I can move segment to filters here like this. It will shows up over here, and I can change. I can choose consumer, and this will be filter for consumer. And I choose corporate, right? It looks like there are some negative over furniture and home office. Oh, a lot of negative over here, and also negative for technology here. This doesn't look right. Okay, or I can choose select multiple items. I can look at consumer and home office at the same time, for example, like this, or I can clear all the things here. This, right? So this is called the filter component. I can choose to do with slicer. We can do slicer with Excel table before. We can do slicer with the pivot table. And we also can do specific type of slicer called timeline, which means we can use it for slicing time, date time hierarchy, for example, year, month, and quarter. We can also have auto filter and manual filter over here. This can be filter. This can also be filter over here. Or you can right click, and that will be like choose, for example, value field setting or pivot tables option, right? There are many places where you can filter things out, okay? Let's say we want to, we already done this. We add the filters component, right? We also need to come with slicer, okay? So let's click this and then goes to pivot table analyze, and then we insert slicer, right? And then we choose segment. Okay. Here it's sync because it's the same filter. If you click consumer, this will be changed as consumer, right? It goes together, otherwise it will be messed up. We can also have timeline, which we don't have with Excel tables. We can insert timeline over here, insert timeline. Okay, you can choose which date column that you want to do with timeline with. Let's say it's order date. Okay, so we can change the hierarchy that we want to filter on. For example, I can choose just years, and I can choose to have 2002 and 2004, for example. Right? Okay, I can clear all things here. You can do many different things, changing your perspective, finding some patterns that are interesting for you, or changing your filters according to what your business questions is, and then you can come up with the insights. Okay, this is what we done. So we can loosely change consumer, corporate, home office, this, right? And then try to come up with some insight. But I can also, because there are quite a lot of information over here, I can use AI to help me. What I can do is, again, I can copy the whole thing, the whole pivot table, and then I can put it in my Gemini. Okay, so this is what I have. I have free version without filter, with the filter, and I can let it interpret the results from my pivot table. I told them that my pivot table contains what, and then it helped me, right, to come up with executive summary. So the overall trend will be what? Company shows strong positive trend. Okay, it is seasonality, because fourth quarter is the make or break period. There are some conflict between office supply, technology, and furniture. And if I deep dive, there is a tech shock, which are some anomaly, because in technology category, there's a loss for Q4 2024, but for 2025, it recovers. Okay, furniture always struggles. Okay, for corporate, what happens, right? For home office, what happened? And it also summarized everything in very nice table for me. Okay, so I put that nice table over here. It summarized that for each category, what is its roles in the business. Office supply is the backbone, so low risk, steady growth, no problems yet. For technology, it's the engine, because we have high risk, high return, but somehow it lost in some quarter, some year. For furniture, it's the anchor, high risk, low or even negative rewards. Okay, specifically in home office, we fail a lot in profit for home office of furniture. So we can ask more questions. Why? Why did consumer tech lose money in Q4 2024, but corporate sold? Was the discount strategy too aggressive for this that caused the scenario over here? We can move on to diagnostic analytics to be able to answer these questions next time. Okay, so for this lecture, what we have here, this is done by AI also. We have raw granularity, which is the individual data points that are unstructured. We can structuring it into aggregation, into tables types, into flat tables. And from that flat tables, we can get cross-tabulation over your data as pivot tables. And furthermore, next time we can do synthesis to use the visual to tell more stories and get more actions from this. Okay, so in conclusion, today we talk about the tools, the main tools that we use to answer our descriptive analytics questions. That means we use summarization using aggregate functions like average, sum, count, min, max, standard deviation. You can also do some conditional functions like count if, sum if, average if. You can use Power Query to transform transaction data into analytical set using group bys or calculate summary statistics. You can do multi-dimensional analysis with pivot tables that help us to measure, to view the measures or the metrics through dimensions in columns and rows. Okay, and that's what we did for today. So any questions? Okay, if no question, just save this and then you can submit your lab for today, right? To discard this, to go save, okay, and then I will open the quiz. So no more homework because we are still in homework 2, right? Homework 2 has next week deadline. Quiz 4, let's say to this 3:55. So let's say 10 minutes should be okay. 4:10. Okay, this 4 is ready for you. Okay. Once you are done, you can leave. Okay, don't forget to submit the lab. Don't forget homework for next week. And also next week we would have a new homework. Okay.